Poland is a very different example of that relationship in Europe, because Poland is not secular. Poland didn't have the same kind of history as the Western countries, and so for the Poles, there's a very strong relationship between the state, the church, and the state, because the church historically has been the repository of national identity, of religious identity, and of the state, because it kept alive Polish identity and the idea of a Polish state in the 19th century when there wasn't a Polish state, or in the after during World War II, when the Polish state was dissolved. The Catholic Church, embodied this sense of sort of national identity and the state, and so there's an active sort of religiosity, and sort of religion is part of Polish society, and that relationship with the state that is very different than the rest of Europe. And it's now a member of the EU, and that will change, I think, in some ways, this sense of Western Europe, or that part of the European Union, as being sort of very secular, very sort of non-religious, because Poland was one of 2 or 3 countries, I think Slovakia was another country, which pushed very hard to have this sort of reference to God, and Europe being a Christian nation, which is sort of seems natural for the Polish state to have done, but it really didn't bode well, in the rest of Europe, and it did not actually. It failed, this effort to have God in the preamble. There were references to Europe's sort of humanitarian, to its sort of cultural identity, and its but these sort of vague sort of references like that, but not any religious references. There's a religious revivalism in other parts of Eastern Europe as well, and in other new members of the European states, that may very well change this whole debate about what is European identity. Maybe religion, will become part of a European identity in a much more demonstrable way, because perhaps of the growing presence of Islam in Europe, but also because there are different religious traditions among some of these new European member states, which was very interesting, because again, it's in sharp contrast to, for example, France as this sort of emphatically secular state, and the Catholic Church is a very strong component of that sort of Polish identity, and the current government is a very conservative, right-wing government, and so these sort of references to sort of the tradition of Polish identity. There's an effort to try to move that into the larger debate of issues in the EU generally, I think, and we'll probably see more of that.